Hey, follow me to the horsepower shop where Project 32 3-window is just about to fly the coop.
Today on Horsepower TV, we'll put the paint to our 3-window coupe, then give it a real retro flame job. We'll vote on more parts, including headers and a shifter, before we vote on the body. We'll see how the pros punch louvers to make the mark of a real hot rod, and offer you some tips on how to hop up your Holley for maximum performance. So hang on for Horsepower TV. Come on.
That looks good.
All right, welcome again to Horsepower TV and to the next phase of our retro rod project. Oh, in case you missed our show recently, Chuck and I are putting together a 32 3-window coupe from Harwood. Now, we started this project with their chassis, added a GM Performance Parts small block Chevy, a Hughes Turbo 350 Trans, and out back here, a Curry 8-inch Ford rear end.
To help establish our nostalgia theme, we bolted on these cool front brakes from SoCal Speed Shop. Now, the Willwood discs are hidden inside these finned aluminum drums that look just like they came off of a mid-50s Buick. And of course, the carburetion is yet another cue from the past. This cool triple deuce setup came from Auto Motion in Great Falls, Montana.
Another blast from the past are these Sanderson line fire headers. Here, I think that's your side.
Oh man, that's a hot set of headers.
Aren't they? Now, we're going to install them along with the exhaust that we welded up last week. Of course, we just got them back from Jet Hot where they gave them their ceramic metallic coating. Now, to prevent corrosion and give them a chrome-like appearance, we asked for their sterling finish.
Hey, speaking of finishes, I wonder how the paint shop is doing with our body.
I'll tell you what, let's head over there as soon as we get this bolted up.
All right.
After our 32 body is blocked, washed, and tacked, ace painter Rick Harris applies some primer surfacer. In this case, it's tinted purple as a ground coat for the base. Then, after drying 15 minutes, he applies 3 coats of base, a special horsepower purple color created by the folks at PPG. This is followed with 3 coats of clear coat. Now, Rick's got the body all covered up and ready to start that fabulous flame job. Speaking of which, if you ever invest in one, it's always a good idea to get an artist rendering like this first, like the one we got from Anderson's studio in Nashville.
Man, that is cool, and it's a lot cheaper than paying for that paint job twice. Now, if you're like us, you probably wonder what it takes for a painter to bring those hot licks to life, and Rick took us through the whole procedure earlier, in a little bit smaller scale, of course.
We got to get the outline established first of our flame job. We're going to take 1/8-inch tape and establish the border first of our flame job. The reason we use the plastic tape is it has much more flexibility, and since we're doing a very traditional type flame job, we need to keep all of the flame licks very consistent. We've applied all of our 2-inch masking tape. Now we're hand cutting the border with an X-Acto knife right in the middle of our blue tape. When we get everything masked up, we're going to peel this off. Now we're going to be ready for that pearl white base coat. For our candy flame job, we're using House of Color products all the way through, and we're starting with a white base coat. We're going to follow that with 3 coats of our Snow White Pearl Shimmering. Then we're going to do something a little different on this one. We're actually going to mix a candy base to spray over our pearl white using the candy concentrates mixed with our SG 100 clear.
Then after 3 coats of clear and water sanding, it's time for some pinstriping artistry to bring those flames to life.
You've got to have a contrasting color, and since our flame is changing 4 times color-wise, we had to have a color that will work with all 4 of the colors in our flame, so we picked a bright apple green so it works with the pearl white, the gold, the tangerine, and the magenta. An airbrush is just a little miniature spray gun. What we're going to do, we're taking some clear and adding just a little bit of black to it, and we're going to make a real weak wash. And we're going to barely spray it on there, and the color still shows through, but it gives that extra dimension. We're going to do a little freehand design on the deck lid that's real popular in the 50s and 60s. A guy named Von Dutch got it started. and it's just going to be a little freehand design that lets the car have a custom design from the rear, since the flames don't go around the back. Going down the road from the back, we want to have that custom look. It's a quality thing, and quality is an attitude, and you have to really think about these cars. You don't just fly in there and do them. Most people do it for the love of it, not the money. And I'm going to be proud of it. I'm glad my name's on it.
Man, that PPG horsepower purple really pops with those flames, huh? In fact, you know what? I'm getting a little bit of inspiration here.
What? We're finally going to name this retro rod? Hey, you better brace yourself. I feel a bad pun coming on.
Hey, check this out. Goodness gracious, it's a grape ball of fire.
Oh, give me a break. In fact, let's take one. We'll be back with more of our retro rod projects after this. Actually, that's not bad.
Hey, you mean you finally like one of my puns?
For the latest news on Horsepower TV, check us out online at horsepowertv.com.
Hi, welcome back to the shop and more of our three-window build-up, better known now as Project Grape Ball of Fire. Now, before we drop our body onto the frame, we have to install some things first. We'll like this fan. Now, since they didn't use electric fans back in the 60s, we got this chrome-plated flex fan for Mr. Gasket.
We might be using a modern automatic transmission, but we're going to top it off with just a touch of the past, this low-car shifter. Now, it attaches directly to the automatic transmission case, and, well, that means that we won't have to worry about the linkage binding up every time the engine is torqued over. We've already installed these little aluminum bushings inside the bosses here that are part of the transmission case. Well, now we can install the shifter body. It just drops right down, and it's held in place with these set screws and a couple of bolts right here on the tail shaft housing. Your shifter arm attaches to a stud that comes out of the side of the transmission right here. Now, all that's left to do is connect the rod from the shifter arm back up to the shifter, and you'll want to make sure that both your shifter and transmission are in park before making any final adjustments. Once that's done, run her through the gears to make sure you have proper operation. Well, now we want to remove the shift lever by loosening this jam nut down here. Of course, we'll reinstall it later on once we get the body bolted to the chassis.
That is our next step, but first, had to poke some bolt holes in this anti-chafe strip. This is very important because it prevents squeaks and rattles, and it keeps the body from rubbing paint off the frame.
All right, let her down. How you looking over there?
Pretty close.
Come on forward on my side.
Okay.
There we go.
There, that's fine.
All right, I'm lined up. Tell you what, I'm going to go get the bolts and the shims.
Good idea.
Well, no matter how straight your body and frame are, you're still going to need shims like these to take up the slack. Now, they come in varying thicknesses, and you just stack them to fill the void. Of course, once that's done, you just install the bolts that attach the body to the frame.
Now, to keep our engine cool, we're using this Walker copper brass radiator that fits right into the grill shell of our 32. These tabs here on the bottom of the radiator bolt right up to the car's frame rails. Now, the top of the radiator is held in place with these support rods that attach right here to the firewall. Now, we'll make our final adjustments once we get the hood on.
Of course, once the radiator is secure, we can go ahead and install our grill shell. Now, this one's already had the stainless insert installed, and we spec'd ours with a crank hole still in place. Now, that's going to help us keep that nostalgia theme going. The radiator has 4 tabs on the sides, and of course, they're going to help us bolt that radiator shell right in place.
Well, the hood's next, but first, we have to lay down some of these self-adhesive rub strips on the firewall and up here on the grill shell. Now we're laying the hood in place to check for fit. You'll notice we put masking tape here to keep from scratching the paint. Of course, we'll adjust those radius rods under there to get the radiator forward and get the gap we need.
Now, once everything is adjusted, the hood is held in place with these special latches, and they engage this bracket right down here on the firewall.
For the Ford's finishing touch, we've added this cool piece of custom trim that Really adds to the retro look. What do you think?
Man, I think we really turned up the heat on the old great ball of fire today. Now, next time we're going to hang the steering column and the dash, plus work on the lights and wiring.
Well, we got some grassroots racing that comes down to the wire today. Our horsepower race of the week is just ahead. Welcome back to Horsepower TV and to Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, we've come to the annual SEMA show again that showcases all the hot new aftermarket products you might be bolting into your ride during the year. Want a quick sample of what's here? Hey, I said it'd be quick. Anyway, you'll see a lot of those cool parts put to work on projects in our shop during the year. Besides, we've come to SEMA to make an announcement about something brand new to Horsepower TV, something that'll put our high-performance how-tos into action. Horsepower TV's Race of the Week, a celebration of the real-world warriors who battle on America's drag strips. Hardcore competitors who bolt on the hardware, build the cars, and run them in exciting grassroots racing events from coast to coast. It'll be a show within the show as we invade a new track every weekend starting next weekend. Chuck and I presided over a press conference to officially introduce our Race of the Week. And on board were leaders from the IHRA, the National Streetcar Association, and other sanctioning bodies that'll take part in this exciting new addition to our program. No doubt our Race of the Week features will put more power into Horsepower TV. Well, SEMA is also a great place to grab some styling ideas for your next street rod project. Speaking of which, we're leaving Las Vegas now for Laramie, Wyoming, to get a tip on how to put one of those styling ideas to work in your garage. These are louvers. Now, back in the old days, they were a functional feature that helped you remove heat from your engine. Well, today, louvers are more a retro styling cue than anything else. As you're about to discover, punching a set is as much a lost art as it is a science.
It is certainly a lost art because of the fact that not every shop is certainly going to have a louver press or even know how to punch a louver, the proper steps and requirements you need to know before you can actually start the job.
As a street rod instructor at Wyoming Technical Institute, Matthew Harris uses a hydraulic press to teach louver punching and invited us for a crash course.
Here we can see the male and the female dies. On the male die itself, we can see the actual shape and contour of the louver itself that's actually going to be stamped into the sheet metal. If we look at this a little further, we can see that this edge right here is going to be the edge that's going to create the cut line for the louver itself. Now we can actually see that center line scribed on the panel, and when it comes time to actually punch the louver, we must align that center line with the hash mark on our male die. Now, if we take a closer look, we can compare the different sizes of louvers by changing out the dies. Here we have a 1" by 3" louver compared to a 3/4 by 3" louver.
All right, Matthew, enough show and tell. Let's get to work. Now, you're going to put some louvers on my 50 Merc hood here. What do you do first?
Well, Joe, it's not too difficult. We just pulled out a few panels that we had lying around, and we're going to just kind of arrange them on the hood and see what really looks best on this style of hood.
I think you nailed it. This looks good, but you're working on the other side. How are you going to line them up?
It's not too bad, Joe. All we have to do is, once we have the panels aligned, reference this cut line onto the center line of the hood, which can be easily transferred on the back side.
Cool. Let's flip it over and get started.
Okay, great. Well, Joe, the first thing I had to do was remove that cross brace before I could lay anything out.
I see. It looks like you got a jump start on this thing.
Yeah, I did, Joe. I was really hoping you'd like that design I showed you earlier, so I already spent quite a few hours laying it out.
Well, I do like it, and I guess this number 1 here means the first press.
Exactly. If you remember that reference point we made earlier, all I had to do was transfer that over to establish that first cut line. Then from there, just accurately lay out the rest of the louvers accordingly.
Yeah, for several hours, I'm sure. Now, each circle represents a louver. How many are here?
116.
Wow, I'm impressed. We better head to the press.
Let's do it. A little to the left, a little more. A little back. Okay guys, that was the first one. That's always the toughest. We just got to remember, always keep the horizontal on line and also watch that center line. Also keep the hood nice and flat on that female die.
Hey, I hate to ask this question now, Matthew. What if one's just a little bit off?
Oh Joe, I can't believe you asked that, but you better have a spare hood on your parts car.
I don't. We'll be careful.
Center line. Punching. Ready to punch. Well, there you go, Joe. And with a hood like this, it'll certainly punch up the image of that lead sled of yours.
No doubt. I'm impressed. And speaking of impressions, do you do any Buddy Holly songs by any chance?
Well, that'll be the day.
Well, that'll be it till we take a short break. See you in a minute. Great job.
Thank you.
For more horsepower, join us online at horsepowertv.com.
You know, they say he who hesitates is lost, and while that may be an especially appropriate saying, if your Holley has an off-the-line stumble. Now, most of those stumbles are caused by either too much or too little fuel being delivered from the accelerator pump. Next time you leave the line, have a buddy check your exhaust. If it puffs black when you mat the gas, hey, you're getting too much fuel. Now, you can correct this by reducing the size of your squirter. Holley offers these squirters in an assortment of sizes to meet the fuel needs of your engine. You can also change the rate of delivery by changing the accelerator pump cam. It attaches to the throttle arm right here. And as you can see, changing the cam profile not only modifies the amount of fuel delivered to the squirter, but even more importantly, when it's delivered. For example, if you need more fuel as soon as you crack the throttle, well, then your cam profile should look something like this. But if you got to reduce and delay the amount of squirter action, well, then a profile like this one should do the trick. Of course, you can tune the squirter delivery even more by changing the cam mounting position to one of these two holes on the throttle arm. After each change, make a short run to make sure that you're heading in the right direction. And if you are, continue making small similar changes until you've eliminated the bog. If you're running a vacuum secondary carb like this one, hesitation can also come from having the wrong spring tension inside the vacuum secondary diaphragm. Now, too weak a spring will cause your secondaries to dump open too quickly, and, well, that's where you'll get a real hesitation. But if the spring is too strong, well, your vacuum secondaries may not even open at all, and, well, you'll never realize the full power potential of your engine. This assortment of springs will help you get the right rate of opening for your engine. Tuning your Holley takes some time and trial and error, but with the right combination, hey, you'll lose that hesitation and find the performance that you need to win. Stay with us. Hot Parts is next.
Now, Horsepower's Hot Parts, brought to you by Summit Racing Equipment, your source for high-performance parts for 30 years.
You'd have to be off your rocker not to go for these affordable aluminum rollers from Crane Cams. Now, the new Blazer series fits small block Chevys with either 1.5 or 1.6 ratios and 3/8 or 7/16 studs. Now, the fully rollerized fulcrum is going to reduce friction and free up a few ponies, while the rollerized tip is going to eliminate valve train wear and maintain proper valve train geometry. Now, they come with a full set of these poly locks, and, well, they're not going to wear out your wallet either. Prices start just under $170.
Well, no matter what your next bolt-on may be, wouldn't it be great if you could determine its power gains before you install it? Well, we can't promise a crystal ball, but we can show you this new desktop Dyno 2000. With a few keystrokes or mouse clicks, you can test millions of parts, even build and dyno your next engine. It's easy to use, works with most computer systems, and helps you find the best components for the ultimate combination. Now, this software shouldn't be too hard on your budget. CD sells for about 42 bucks.
Hey, and while you're on the computer, why not log on to horsepowertv.com for information about all the hot parts and hardware that we feature in the shop. Our website's also got news about upcoming shows, video clips, racing updates, merchandise, background materials, and hey, who are those guys?
Again, horsepowertv.com is the online address. Now let's address something else hot, our show next week. We'll puff up the power in a late model Mustang with a cold air kit, power pulleys, oversized throttle body, and high performance exhaust. In our race of the week, it's a blowout in the Bluegrass Station with NSCA competition from Bowling Green, Kentucky. And how lead still leads the way in this shop when it comes to street rod resto projects. And remember, high performance fun is what this show is all about.
For information about the products used in today's show and more, check us out online at horsepowertv.com. Horsepower TV is an RTM production.